So last week's episode we took a look at Rascarrel Bay and the Devil's Bridge, and we flew along the coast a little bit just until before this point here. And the reason that I stopped last episode where I did is because this is MOD land here, and I hadn't contacted the range officer to find out if there was any live firing on or not last week. So I didn't want to fly into the area in case there was some live firing going on. But this week I did phone the range officer to ask if there was any live firing going on at Kirkcudbright Training Centre, and he said there was live firing from Tuesday right through to Friday. So I thought, well, that's not good news. I can't get down and fly if there's live firing going on. But then Storm Bram came in, and I think that changed things a bit. So I came down here, and the red flag isn't flying, which normally would mean that there's no live firing going on. And I don't see any activity at the moment. There was a wee vehicle with an orange light flashing and a couple of guys a few minutes ago. There it's there, just at the top of the hill. So I don't know who that is, and I don't know what they're doing. But because there are no red flags flying, I am going to take a walk out across the range and see if I can get to the point where I can start my filming. And if the guys in the vehicle approach me and tell me that it's not safe to be on the land, then obviously I'll come back off of it until the live firing, if there's any, is finished. Because the range officer said that it was live firing up until 4 o'clock, but that's only when the red flag's flying, and the red flag isn't flying just now. And I think that's because Storm Bram probably changed that, and they maybe cancelled this week's exercises because of the storm. However, I'm sure I'll find out, and these fine military gentlemen will tell me in no uncertain terms whether I'm allowed to be here or not at the moment. There's no indication that says I can't be here, and that's why I'm coming on to the land. As an ex-soldier myself, I understand the dangers that there are in coming into an MOD area where there is an exercise going on, and particularly a live firing exercise. So I'm not wandering about here ignorant of the possibilities. Did I just hear a crack there? I may have heard a crack. I'll walk on. If I hadn't contacted the range officer and had just come down here on spec, then because the red flag isn't flying, I would naturally assume that there isn't anything going on here. And I'd be quite right to assume that too. So I can't really be held to account if I am on the land when there's a live firing exercise going on. They should have the red flag flying, and they should have a sentry in the box preventing anyone from coming onto the land. But because there's no sentry and no red flag flying, then I think I'm safe to assume that there is no live firing happening today. It's going to be an interesting flight, this one, because although Storm Bram has gone, we still have the very tail end of it here, as you can see with the clouds in the sky. They're moving fairly fast. There is a bit of a wind here at ground level, so I can imagine that the wind up high will be quite fast. The weather report said 24 miles per hour winds, and I'm safe to take the Mavic 3 up to 27 mile per hour winds. As you can see there, there's definitely a bit of activity going on, so I'll stay to the edge of the area here, rather than walking straight across. And if the chaps have anything they want to tell me, I'm sure they'll let me know. But actually I want to be up there at that point, that high point, to launch where they are just now. But I don't want them to think I'm coming up filming them or anything. So if they do approach me, or if I approach them, their position, I'll be turning the camera off to have the conversation with them, for obvious reasons. You know, if they're military boys, they're not wanting to be filmed with some clown with a YouTube channel, whether he's ex-military or not. I don't know if they've seen me or yet, not seen me or not yet. They may have done, and they might just be ignoring me. Or they may not yet have seen me, and I hope I don't give them a wee fright when they do. There's some swans there for you ornithologists. Those are white swans with orange beaks, and they're wearing sunglasses. Dark sunglasses. Two swans and a cygnet. That's a baby swan for all you non-ornithologists. Right, I want to get up to higher ground here because I need to be able to have visual line of sight of the drone, and I'm not sure I'll have it from down here when I send them out over the coast. So I will need to head up to, well, I'll see where this track takes me. It might take me to a point, it's taking to a point that I can see the coastline where I'm going to be flying along, so that's fine. The boys have stopped moving. Maybe they've spotted me now and they'll come along and have a wee word. I might keep the recording going until or unless they ask me to stop. I may let them know that I'm recording and ask if it's okay with them. Although I don't think they're interested in me. You'll be able to see behind me just now that I can't see, so I don't know what they're doing. But they don't seem overly concerned that I'm out here. And I'm getting close probably to the point where I'm going to be launching this flight for episode 6 of the entire coastline of Scotland from a bird's eye view. No, episode 6 of the entire coastline of Scotland from a drone's eye view. and I may have to depart from the edge of the training area soon, now in fact, to get to a point where I can ensure that I'm going to have visual line of sight of the drone when I launch it. Now this may be a very short flight, because with the wind as high as it is down here at ground level, and it's going to be at least double that speed at 50 metres up. So if I feel that it's getting a bit too much for the drone, I will land it. Look over there. You see, that's the point from episode 4. That's Rascarrel Bay off in the distance there, the high point. So although we're not moving far between episodes, maybe 5 to 7 miles, that's the only way I can ensure that I'm going to get the entire coastline, or as much of it as I possibly can, captured by drone. There are some parts of the coastline that are going to be either extremely tricky to film or impossible. And I'm thinking about Faslane, for example, the submarine bay, nuclear submarine base. That has a high flight restriction zone around it, and I may not be able to fly it there, and there's a couple of other areas on the way around, but we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. Heading for that wall over there, and I'll find a good point at that wall to launch the drone from, unless I have to cross this wee burn here. Oh. Right, there's a wee burn, so I'm going to walk down the burn. I'm not going to jump across that. Last time I jumped across a burn like that, the ground the other side was so marshy that I sunk right into up to my waist. Trouble getting back out, so I may just stay in this side of the burn, right down to the coast. But this is looking like a nice spot. I can see the coastline all the way from here. This is looking like a good spot to fly at, even though the wind is quite strong. So I'm going to fly up there over that point, and from there, on the other side of that little what would you call it, peninsula I suppose, is Rascarrel Bay. Just on the other side of that. That point there was as far as we flew to in the last episode. So this episode will be flying from there along this part of the bay. I had planned to fly out to the island there and have a look at the lighthouse, but with this wind I'm not sure if I'm going to be doing that. I may just fly up the coast a little bit towards Kirkcudbright, and I think it's St Mary's Isle, which is up there. So I may as well just get the drone out now and see how bad that wind is up at 50 metres.
Rascarrel Bay, salt on the air and ironed in. Waves stood tall like battlements when the storm came roaring in. The wind it shrieked round the broken cliffs, tore at rope and skin, but the old ones braced on the stony shore when the storm came roaring in. Oh, heave her up, lads, hold the line, let the wild wind tear and spin, for the coast was forged by steel and brine when the storm came roaring in. Aye, the land remembers blood and bone and the songs the sea still sing, of warriors born a wave and stone when the storm came roaring in. At Kirklebrae Cove, aye, Kirklebrae, where the Dee meets tide and wind, the rain came down like sling-thrown shot when the storm came roaring in. They hauled their boats on aching backs, no mercy asked nor given, for a man learned fast on that hard coast when the storm came roaring in. Oh, heave her up, lads, hold the line, let the wild wind tear and spin, for the coast was forged by steel and brine when the storm came roaring in. Aye, the land remembers blood and bone and the songs the sea still sing, of warriors born a wave and stone when the storm came roaring Down Howell Bay the breakers marched, grey ranks crashing grim. Shields were split and banners lost when the storm came roaring in. No gentle dawn, no heroes rest, just grit and will to win, for the sea shows no respect for crowns when the storm came roaring in. And Moloch Bay still keeps its dead, where the kelp grips stone and shin. You hear their names in the boom o' surf when the storm comes roaring in. Not all were sung in hall or kirk, nor laid in holy ground. Some sleep where the tide still scours the sand when the storm comes roaring round. So raise your voice to the howling gale, let it carry what we've been, for the sea takes men but leaves us steel when the storm comes roaring in.